afternoon, Sir Mai.
Afternoon.
Let me just share my screen.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so again, good afternoon. Thank you for that introduction, sir. So
Welcome.
this afternoon, I will be discussing to you about 10 Microvision 1. So how will we be able to see more with the things that we have seen in different layers of protection, and how can we respond faster when it comes to these types of threats. Now, before I proceed with the solution, let me just walk you through when it comes to threat landscape. Of course, for us to provide protection, we need to identify first what are the threats that I need to provide protection with. So basically, we have what we call our threat intelligence, what we call the smart protection network. So this is our research and development. We have identified more than 30 years of information when it comes to security. And the good thing about this one is we collect all of this information and we use it to provide protection to our customers. Now, in the recent identification of our smart protection network, we have seen that from year 2019 to year 2020, there is a high risk, uh, high risk when it comes to attacks. So we've seen here that when it comes to increase of attacks, we've seen an attack on email. There are also attacks on web reputations. You can see here that there are attacks also on file reputation. But the good thing is, well, we decrease attack on the mobile application, but there is a replacement, which is what we call the IoT. So since we are now working from home, almost all of the gadgets that we use are smart uh, gadgets. We can see here that this has been one of the launch pad of the attacks of the threat groups right now. Now, when we look when it comes to blocking the threats on using our smart protection network, we've seen that there is an identical when it comes to both the years 2019 and 2020. So we have identified that 90%, 91% of the block threats is coming from email. So what I'm saying here is that when we know that email has always been the number one threat vector when it comes to malware. So we can see it all throughout the year. And the best thing that we can do for that is to provide protection for our email. Ayan. Now, let's look at on a bigger perspective. Let's look on the top industries that we have. So when it comes to threats, we can see here that the top industries that has always been attacked since 2019 and 2020 are almost the same. We can see here that there are government, we can see that there are manufacturing, healthcare, education, even retail, technology, and even food and beverages. So we know when it comes to the customers, there will always be an attack on these types of industries. Now, among these industries, we know, syempre, there are threats that is going through to these types of industries. Now, we have identified as well, using the Smart Protection Network as well, or our research, we have identified the top threat types that
This is
have,
for, sorry, this is for Philippine setting, the
no,
industries, global.
na, right now, sir, it's global. Later,
All
I'll
right.
be sharing with you the Philippines naman po.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So yeah, and you can see here on the top threat types is that there are identification when it comes to malware. There are so many things when it comes to ransomware, VCs, phishing emails. There are botnets, vulnerabilities, even IoT malwares and vulnerabilities because of the smart devices that we already have, and as well as the mobile malware. So we seen the decrease on mobile malware, but when it comes to threat types, they are being one of the top when it comes to threats. Now, thank you for that, Sir Mao, for prompting on that, because I will
Welcome.
be sharing with you as well with the Philippine context. Now, on the Philippine context, let us see what are the industries that has so many attacks when it comes to Philippines. So you can see here that most attack industry right now in the Philippines is healthcare, followed by technology, and then we see here that there are banking, government, retail, food and beverage, and as well as education. Now you can see from 2019 to 2020, still healthcare is number one when it comes to attacks. And in 2021, the first 3 months of 2021, these are the information that we've gathered from our threat team. So you can see here that food and beverage is number 1 as of the moment, but you can see that healthcare is on the top, still on the top 3. So basically, they are the most vulnerable when it comes to attacks because, of course, hindi naman yun yung kailangan nilang, hindi naman talaga yun yung priority nila when it comes to healthcare. Of course, and something that we need to take upon consideration as well here is that because of COVID-19, di ba, sila talaga yung most vulnerable of all. So yan. So among the industries, again, we found out that there are same top threats when it comes to top threat types. So ano-ano yon? So we have here yung mga malware, also have here yung ransomware, business email compromise, and phishing on the emails. Vulnerabilities is still number 1. Even yung mga old vulnerabilities has always been used for attack on organization. So nakikita natin itong mga ganitong threats on the Philippine setting as well. We have seen also an increase on IoT malwares because most of the customers are asking for security on their OT environment, meaning on the manufacturing, meaning on the factory. So yan. And of course, since most of the consumers are using mobile, there is an increase as well when it comes to threat types on mobile. So what I'm saying here is that the attacks doesn't matter where your location is, there will always be an attack. Doesn't matter kung sino ka, di ba? Ina-attack ka pa din eh because of doesn't matter what industry you are in, doesn't matter what country you are in. We are all we are all facing an attack from our threat actors. Now, knowing all of these threats, di ba? Sobrang dami ng mga threats na yon, even in the Philippine setting. Organizations would like to have always to have a protection, a solution that has a protection for them, which is always a good one. Why? Because syempre, they always buy solution that will be able to provide them protection. Di ba? Yun naman yung binabayaran natin eh. But of course, for you to provide protection and as well as prevention, you need first to have visibility. Okay? So when it comes to knowns, of course, we already have identified the threats for that. We can rely on threat intelligence being shared with you with the vendor that you are in, or let's say, for example, with the vendor that the customer is using. They can rely on their threat intelligence. But for the unknowns, of course, we need to have a detection model or the detection technique so that we will be able to provide protection also to these kinds of organization that we have. So, yan yung mangyayari. When it comes to threats, threat intel tayo, or yung mga knowns, threat intel tayo. But when it comes to unknowns, we need to have detection techniques. So that's why visibility is always a key. Sabi nga natin, lagi itong naririnig when it comes to security. You cannot protect what you cannot see. So for you to be able to protect, you need to be able to see and have visibility. So because of that, ang nangyari kasi when it comes to organization is they use framework. So, syempre, so that they will be able to understand what is happening to the organization, they will be able to understand and easily navigate on the attack being happened on the organization, diba? They use framework for that, which is commonly used right now, what we call the Mitre attack. So, just introducing to you the Mitre attack. So, para lang mas maintindihan natin why we need to have these kinds of framework so that we will be able to understand what is happening on the organizations right now. So organizations use the attack framework, or what we call attack, I think spelled ATTNCK, or adversarial tactics, techniques, and common knowledge. So you can see here on the framework, ito yung framework wherein it standardized the interpretation of the attacker's approach. How are the attackers being able to approach the organization when it comes to breaching them? So it also provides a common language to describe how the threat group behaves. Ano ba yung ginagamit nila? Are they always using phishing email to be able to penetrate the organization? So when it comes to gathering information, what are the techniques that they are also using? So we are able to see the behavior of the attackers and as well as the threat groups that is being attacking the industry as well. Now, so another thing is that attack framework is a knowledge base of our adversaries. As you can see, adversaries, the tactics, and as well as techniques that is used in a real world observation. So basically, these are hindi siya gawa-gawa lang. So basically, these are the techniques that has been used also by the threat groups, and these are also the techniques that has been used by security professionals so that they will be able to understand what is happening during an attack. So yan siya. So you can see here on when you see the framework, you can see at least three parts or consists of three skeletons when it comes to framework. You can see on the top part what we call the tactics. So ano yung tactic? Tactic is a goal of the attacker in the organization. Let's say for example, their goal is to have initial access on the organization. So yun yung tactic na tinatawag. Then we also have what we call techniques, yung mga nasa column pababa. So these are what we call techniques. So techniques is what the attacker will do to reach the goal that they want to have when it comes to tactics. So later on, gawa ako ng na example for that. And lastly, we have also what we call the procedures. So how the technique will be implemented with this tactics and techniques. So example for this one, let's say the attacker would like to have initial access on the organization. So ito siya, initial access. So ano yung technique that the attacker will use? Let's say for example, they will use a spear phishing email. So one of the techniques that they will use is spear phishing. Now, what is the procedure that they will take para ma-send yung spear phishing email? Of course, they will need to send email to the organization. So that's what we call the procedure. So yun yung anatomy when it comes to the framework of attack. Ayan. Another thing when it comes to Mitre attack framework is it parang almost the same siya when it comes to cyber kill chain. So when it comes to cyber kill chain, it is more of a high level. It shares a high level information about what happened to the organization. When we talk to other security professionals, we can say, this is what happened to this breach. There is a reconnaissance, then there is an intrusion, then there's a privilege escalation. But alongside with that, we don't know exactly what happened on the attack or on the breach. So that's why we have Mitre attack. So Mitre attack gives us a more stringent and more clearer information about what happened to the attack. Not only that we say, there is an initial access, but we say an initial access has been done using spear phishing, or there is an execution being done because once the user clicked the link, there is a file that has been downloaded. So we have all of this information that we can tell story. And using the Mitre attack technique, we will be able to provide a singular communication between the security professionals within the organization. Actually, even not only the security organization, but also even other C-levels, they can understand easily what is happening on their organization using the Mitre attack technique. So there. Now, sharing with you as well the framework, the common use cases of the framework. So, of course, we saw that there is a value when it comes to Mitre framework, and these are the use cases that we have. One, they use it for adversary emulation, in which simulation of combination of attacks to organization, it will penetrate the existing defenses that they have. So they see that there is an adversary. Is the defenses that I already have can be able to protect me from these types of adversaries? So they also have here behavioral analytics development. They would like to see what are the weakest link when it comes to their organization and how are they able to improve on that. When it comes to SOC maturity assessment, they assess how the SOC has been doing when it comes to providing investigation and providing protection in the organization as well. And then, of course, there are also what called defensive gap assessment. Once they identify that there is gap on the security posture that they have, they will be able to build more stringent security. Like it could be on hardening, it could be on additional security products that they need to be in place. So let's say there are also procedures and processes so they can address that using the assessment on defensive gap assessment. And then lastly, we have what we call the red teaming. So red teaming is more of an offensive use of the adversaries that has been seen on the framework. So as you can see here, security teams that use this can now tell the story. It simplifies how the story can be communicated among the organization, just like what I shared kanina. And organizations use as well attack framework so that they can standardize the community when it comes to conversation or what happened, the defense testings that they have done, and as well as what are the products and service emulations that they have been done as well and has been evaluated as well. So yeah, that's our attack framework. Now, I started there kasi there is what we call evaluations that has been done by the Mitre. What we call now the Mitre Ingenuity. Before the name is only Mitre. But in 2020, they changed their name, what they call Mitre Ingenuity. They do attack evaluations. So I think you've heard about the Mitre attack evaluations like last 2019, which they are using APT29. But last year, uh, they use Carbonac and Fin7. So these are the threat groups that they mimic so that they will be able to launch an attack. So that yung attack na ilo-launch na is not only just for testing the product, but be able to mimic how the adversaries has been done on the real world. What is happening when it comes to true breaches on the organization. Now, in 2020, they used Carbonac and Fin7. These are the threat groups that they used for testing or mimicking how the real attacks will be happened on the evaluation. So basically, see, Carbonac is more of focus on the banking institution, while the Fin7 is more of on the retail, on the food, and even hospitality. So that's why when the attack has been launched, it is more focused on these types of institutions or industries. Now, in 2021, which is upcoming, they will be using the threat group Wizard Spider and as well as Sandberg. So with Mitre Ingenuity, this evaluation, it tests a solution's ability to always detect the adversary performing the attack. So ito yung tinitest talaga nila. Are the solutions will be able to identify the detections that I need on this attack? And then how are we be able, how is this information that I seen on this vendor will be able to help me to fill the gaps that I need to provide protection on my organization. So yan yung yan talaga yung objective ni Mitre Ingenuity. Now, of course, after the evaluations, there will always be a result. But when it comes to result, ito yung take ni Mitre Ingenuity. They share that we show the detections we observe without providing a winner. There will always be no winner when it comes to Mitre Ingenuity because there are no scores, there are no rankings, and as well as there are no ratings. But instead, we show how each vendor approaches the threat defense within the context of the attack or the framework that they use. So basically, they just share how the vendor will be able to provide threat defense to the customer, and of course, using the result as well, the organization will be able to know ano ba dapat yung vendor that I need to take or I need to build into so that ma-fill in yung gaps that I have when it comes to my security posture right now. Now, share with you the result of Trend Micro last 2020. Again, we're not saying that there are rankings, but these are the information or these are the results that we have when it comes to the evaluation being done by Mitre Ingenuity. We are, top 3 when it comes to visibility and telemetry. So basically, we can provide visibility on what happened to the organization, let's say on a different layer, how are we be able to see an approach on that. On telemetries, we also provide information about the processes being created, the processes being modified. So we have all the visibilities that the customer needs as well on these types of modern attacks. Now, on the Linux, we have identified 100% Linux attacks detected. So this is very important. Why? Because most of the workloads right now, or even the servers that the customer has been using, they are built on Linux. Let's say, for example, they are building also on cloud. most of the workloads available on cloud are based on Linux. So knowing that we have detected 100% of the attacks, customer will have now confidence when it comes to identifying that Trend Micro will be able to provide them security and protection on uh, Linux environment. And of course, lastly, we highly enrich telemetry for better investigation using the platform that I will be sharing with you in a while. So, yan. Now, for Linux detection, just to share with you, so we have here Trend Micro's number one alongside with Sentinel-1 and even Microsoft. Ayan. And then we have also here our competitors. And then, as you can see here, we also have listed our other competitors so that you can be able to see also how they are able to detect Linux threats based on the real world adversaries. So yeah, again, something that we will be able to have confidence in when it comes to customers is that they will be able to have protection, especially on the Linux platform. Ayan. Now, what are the solutions involved right now on the evaluation being done by Mitre Engine with T? So just to share, these are the products that is being used on the Mitre Ingenuity evaluation. So we have here the Trend Micro Vision 1, in which I will be sharing in a while. The Trend Micro Apex 1 as a service, in which this is our solution for endpoint, meaning we use this technology so that we will be able to have visibility on the endpoint. We can investigate on the endpoint. We get information and telemetry from the endpoint. We also have here the Cloud One Workload Security, which is our solution for servers. So we have all the information from the server, send it on the Trend Microvision 1, and we'll be able to correlate all of those information. And then lastly, when it comes to lateral movement, network information, network traffic, so we have here what we call the Deep Discovery Inspector. Ayan. So these are the products that is been used for evaluating Trend Micro for 2020 na attack evaluation. All right. Now, since my presentation actually moves around on Trend Microvision 1, now let me share with you what is Trend Microvision 1. So Trend Microvision 1 is a platform in which the customer will be able to have more visibility on different layers. So when we say different layers, we know that when we say EDR, it's more of recording all of the information that is gathered on the endpoint. So meaning, if I would like to investigate what file that causes a problem on my organization, I will go to the endpoint. Now, we also have protections for email. We also have protections for servers like the Cloud One Workload, and we also have protection for the network. Now, these protection platforms of Trend Micro, or protection products of Trend Micro, will now act as a sensor. This is the basic when it comes to our Trend Micro XDR. So here, all of those products that we have will forward information to our Trend Micro XDR data lake. So with Trend Micro XDR data lake, this is the repository in which all of the telemetries, activity data will be forwarded so that we will be able to use that for a more stringent and more context when it comes to providing information to customer. So when I say context, we will use also we will use engine so that we will be able to analyze all of this information. So we use security analytics. So security analytics, in a simple way, basically when we do investigation, when the customer do investigation on their network, what they do is they go from one console to another, meaning they would like to investigate on endpoint. They get on the console of the endpoint or the dashboard of the endpoint. So let's say they see low severities on the endpoint. Now they would like to investigate on the email. Now on the email, they see that there are also low severities. And then on the network, they also see that there are low severities as well. Now, when they look at their network, they will just think, okay, my network is good because we only have low severity attacks. There are no high or even critical attacks being seen on my organization. But applying the security analytics on these different layers, it might be part of a bigger attack. So that's the value that we have when it comes to using security analytics or model, identifying the different layers of protection. So later on, I'll be sharing with you some insights with that. Now, aside from that, we also apply threat intelligence, which is our smart protection network, which is our information for 30 years, more than 30 years of experience when it comes to threats. Now, with Trend Micro XDR, or the cross-layer detection and response, we can detect more with the correlated models. We can also visualize attack and as well as respond confidently. Once we understand what is happening on the organization, once we understand what layer of protection we'll be able to provide response, then we can respond faster. So that's why with Vision 1, we will be able to have see more and as well as respond faster. Now, we are not we are not replacing the SOC of the organization. So if the organization is using SIEM on their SOC, we can integrate to it via API. So those are tested already, and we will be able to integrate with their SIEM. So now, instead of getting more and more events on a daily basis, they will be able to see fewer alerts, but with context already. Meaning, they already have information about about different layers that is correlated using the Trend Micro XDR. So yeah. Now, of course, Trend Micro is also offering managed XDR. If the customer don't have skill sets, or even if the customer would like to have second set of eyes for critical monitoring and alerting, we provide service subscription, what we call the managed XDR on different layers. And now, well, in the future, Trend Micro, you can see here that most of the products that is correlated here are from Trend Micro. But of course, we in Trend Micro would like to also correlate information from different vendors. So in the future, we will be able to integrate as well third party and even other Trend Micro solutions. Now, the good thing about today is that yung third party is now available on what we call the Trend Micro Vision 1. So, kanina, yung diniscuss ko is about Trend Micro XDR or cross-layer detection and response. Now, I'll move to Trend Micro Vision 1. So, I started with Trend Micro XDR because Trend Micro Vision 1 is purpose-built with XDR. This is the basis, or this is the basic when it comes to Trend Micro Vision 1. Whatever I shared with you earlier about the XDR, we can see it on Trend Micro Vision 1. But in addition to that, we also have what we call the risk visibility and as well as the agent policy. So when we say zero trust, let's say for example, most of the organizations right now is working from home. So once the employee use their laptop at home, you will not have visibility. What are the applications being accessed by this user? Are they accessing sanctioned applications? Or are they accessing unsanctioned applications for my organization? Are they using risky devices? Or is my user also a risky user? So you will be able to have this kind of visibility once you use the Trend Micro Vision 1. So later on, papakita ko yung itsura niya. And then, of course, for agent management, you will be able to identify what are the machines that forward information to this platform. Again, it's the same with XDR, can be integrated via API and to your SIEM and SOAR. And on top of that, we have what we call the Trend Micro Managed XDR. So now let's see what Trend Micro Vision 1 looks like. So here you can see our Trend Micro Vision 1. So Trend Micro Vision 1 is a platform, again, in which you can monitor, you can investigate, and as well as respond on the same dashboard with all of these attacks. Now you can see here, what I'm showing right now is our Trend Micro Vision. You can see here the Mitre attack matrix mapping, in which these are the attacks that has been seen on the organization that is has been monitored by this Trend Micro Vision 1. You can see here the tactics, what are the tactics has been used, and what are the techniques that has been used on that. Once you click that link, you will be able to go to informations that will lead you to have more investigation on these types of attack. You can see here that there is a service execution and other informations on these types of attack. Let me go back to our security dashboard again. Now, you can see here what we call the SASE or zero trust. So zero trust is, of course, you will be able to see more with, and you will be able to provide attackers pahirapan to penetrate the organization. Now, with our SASE or zero trust, when it comes to visibility, we will be able to identify what are the applications being accessed by the user that is forwarding information to this one, to this vision one. We can see here how many sanctioned applications has been accessed. You can see as well how many unsanctioned applications has been accessed. When we say unsanctioned, these are the identified applications that is not for productivity. Now, we have also identified that risky cloud applications. This is based on our reputation services on the cloud apps. Now, we can see as well here what are the applications that has been accessed by the user. You can actually do customization on these applications. Like for example, you can we know that applications right now is different when it comes to different companies. Sometimes, let's say Facebook. Facebook sometimes for other organization is unsanctioned, but with other organizations, diba, other companies, they use it for sanctioned application. So you can customize these applications if that is sanctioned for your unsanctioned. Then you can also customize the risk level, meaning what are the levels of risk when it comes to the organization. It could be high, it could be medium, high, medium, diba? On the verge of medium, it could be high, medium. So it depends on the organization. But what makes us see that this risk level is because of its security features and as well as the security headers and compliance. So there. Again, you can customize this based on what is the need of your customer. Now, aside from that, earlier you have heard about, we can see also the risky users. When we say risky users, these users have high risk score because mostly, possibly, most of the attacks being, most of the applications being accessed by this user are unsanctioned. So that's why it has a high risk score. Let's say, for example, for Team. So Team has this activity. You can see as well here what are the cloud applications that has been used by Team. You can see that it used 19 out of 20 are unsanctioned. Only one application has been accessed for sanctioned apps. So you can see here also what are the applications being accessed by Team. So now you will have more visibility on each user, what are the activities when it comes to cloud, what are the devices that they are using. Now you can see as well, let's go to the risky device naman. On risky devices, this checks on the risk score of the device that has been used. Say for example, they are using a device to access the internal. Let's say that device is a mobile device and that mobile device is an Android device. Now that Android device might be diba? To not be risky, of course, they need to be updated. Let's say, for example, this Android device is using an older OS. So basically, when we see that being accessing the organization, we will be able to say that this machine or this device is a high risk because, of course, that might be a vulnerable device on the organization. So these are the information that you can see on our Trend Micro version 1. Now, earlier, you have heard that we can visualize also the attack. Now, using the Trend Micro version 1, you will be able to have visibility on different layers and will be able to have an idea what is happening on different layers of my organization. Let's say, for example, these are some of the these are some of the events that has been seen on the organization. Let's say I would like to investigate one of the information here. Let's say, for example, this one. In the summary, the event says that it is a possible spear phishing attack on high-profile user. When you read the description, you will read here a high-level description. A suspicious URL associated with phishing attacks was detected in an email message sent to a higher profile user. So now you have an idea, oh, this one is possibly an information that we need to check on the email. Now on the top, you can see here what we call the timeline. So when you hover on that, you will be able to see what is the first event and what are the objects that is part of that first event. Now, let's say you would like to investigate this one. So they say that there is a suspicious URL. You would like to investigate more. So you can see the arrow from this user, from proton.mail.com. It sent an information to another user, which is team@bonis.com. Now, on that email, there is a link. So an email again was started from this user sending COVID-19 daily update to team. And then there is also a link that has been addressed on that, or that is part of that email. Now you would like to investigate more. So you'd like to investigate the profiles, what are the links that has been seen here, who are the recipients, what is the timestamp, what is the subject. You'll be able to see as well the email headers. Is this coming from the real domain or not coming from a real domain? So there. Now you'd like to investigate as well the link. So seeing this link, you will be able to match the URL or even add it to blocklists. Now, on this same dashboard, you will be able to do response. So sabi ko kanina, di ba? Not only that you can investigate, not only that you can monitor, but you will be able to do response as well. Let's say you'd like to do, you identify that this email is a compromised email. Now you can quarantine this message or even delete the message using this dashboard. Now, another thing when it comes to Workbench, even other layers, let's say, for example, you would like to investigate, you have information about your network. So let's say, for example, I can see that there are lateral movement on my organization. So you can see here that we identify an event, which is what they call network discovery and sniffing. You will see the description. Attempts to scan ports and to monitor capture the transmitted data were detected on the network. Now again, you can investigate using this dashboard. On the timeline, you will be able to see what are the objects that is part of this first event. And then you can investigate using that. You can see an icon here so that you will be able to see if there are other reports available for that machine. You can also do right click here and then check if there are execution profiles or even analytics report. Let's see for execution profile, meaning we have identified on this endpoint that there are lots of objects being seen that is might be part of a malicious attack. Now, once you have finished doing that, you can also see here the network analytics report so that you will be able to see what are the phases of attack wherein this attack has been occurred. You can see here, it could be on lateral movement, it could be on CNC. So you can play back the attack as well. You can see the indications of compromise here identified by our network visibility. So you have all of this information so that you will be able to provide protection to your organization. So there. And of course, lastly, we also do, as I shared earlier, we can do response as well. When you right click, we can do response. One of the response that we can do when it comes to email, we can quarantine and delete. On the endpoint, we can also do remote shell. Now, don't worry, when it comes to remote shell, all of the logs that we have for remote shell are, all of the commands that we have done on the remote shell will be logged as well. So, yan naman siya. So, it's now easy for us to investigate on the endpoints. We can also do collection of files when we identify that there are malicious files on the endpoints. And then lastly, okay, just to share, we have here the Trend Micro Vision one. These are the connectors, what we call the connectors. So these are the products that is forwarding information to this dashboard. So that's why I have so many information that I can share with you. We have for email, if you have Office 365 and Gmail, you can integrate our cloud of security. For Apex One as a service, this is for the endpoint. For network sensor, this is our DDI. For workload security, this is our security for endpoint. I'm sorry. And then lastly, we have the third-party integration. So if you have, let's say, for example, firewall that you would like to integrate and provide telemetries to this dashboard, we can integrate. Right now, what is integrated is Palo Alto and even Checkpoint. If you have others, we can ask our team to provide you information about that. So there, I'm not sure if there are questions.
We actually have one. Yeah, we actually have one question.
Sa Q&A na ba yan, Sir Tao?
Yeah.
All right.
Are you through with your?
Okay, sir. Then
we'll just address the question later when you're done with your presentation.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So this is what is the power of XDR, or what is the power of Trend Microvision One can provide to you and as well as to the customers. So having this is actually having an SOC on your organization. Now, moving on our presentations as well. If you have questions, just let me know. When it comes to building blocks, we know that we have Trend Micro to be a leader for all of the building blocks that I shared with you earlier. For detection and response, we are leader for Forrester Wave quarter 1 of 2020, quarter 2 of 2021. We have email security. We are also leader when it comes to Forrester Wave email security, enterprise email security for Q2 of 2021, and even on cloud. Now, lastly, why Trend Micro Vision One? It is purpose-built solution with deep integration into native sensors, just like what you have seen, diba? From product protection products. We use that as sensor also. We have also distinctive data sources that we leverage information that we have gathered for cloud, like Linux. We have breadth and timelessness of Linux support. We have visibility on email, even on telemetry. Since we have cloud of security being integrated via API, we can see as well information about internal emails. And then lastly, we have Trend Micro Research that is powered by our threat analytics, and we can do also IOC sweeping on the same dashboard. And then lastly, we can provide additional risk insights. So yun lang. I hope you have understand what Trend Microvision One will be able to provide you when it comes to sharing it with your customers, and as well as providing as well protection to the customers itself. So thank you again and have a nice day.